Hi, beautiful souls. Thank you for joining me for this short yin yoga practice. In yin yoga, we hold the shapes for an extended period of time, and the time that you'll want to hold them might be different than what I'm doing here or what other folks who are practicing may be doing. So you might like to keep the video nearby so you can hit pause if you want to stay in this shape a little longer. Take care not to stay more than 5 or 6 minutes in each shape, but know that you can spend a little more time there, and you can also come out of the shape sooner. So everything in every yoga practice is completely optional except breathing and moving mindfully and listening to the inner wisdom that our bodies are always providing to us. So trying to open up those lines of communication to tell the difference between discomfort that might lead to healthy change or discomfort that might be getting a little bit too close to pain. So we don't ever want to go into pain. You'll need a soft supported surface like a yoga mat or a blanket or carpet, and if you have a towel or a blanket that you can roll up to make a roll, that will come in handy as well. So when you're ready, come on down to your belly for our first shape, which is Sphinx pose. So take your time to get there, as long as that's comfortable for you, and you'll be able to tell right away that this pose will be combating all of the time that we maybe are having to spend sitting or at a computer more so than we normally would. You want to line up your elbows directly below your shoulders here so you have that bony support and the alignment of the joints. Stretch your fingers nice and wide. Double check that those elbows are right below your shoulders. And if it feels uncomfortable in your low back, some pressure or compression there, right away you want to press down with your arms and thighs and tuck your belly in. So this pose, this shape can be as supportive or as active or as passive as you need it to be for your body. If it feels compressed in the low back, you want to continue to press down with your hips and thighs and keep the core engaged to protect your lumbar spine. You can still invite your heart to move forward and up. You can keep the head lifted, or you can gently bow the head or move back and forth between those options. Aim to find a space that's comfortable and sustainable to stay in for another minute or so here though. And if it feels safe to soften into the shape, you can let your rib cage move down and forward between the arms and shoulders so that it seems like the shoulders are hunching towards your ears, but really just your rib cage is melting down and forward, and the neck is still long, so ears are away from the shoulders. Again, the legs, the arms can be as active or as passive as suits your needs today. You could soften completely here, breathing into and back out through your nose. For a little more activation, you might energetically pull the arms towards you to send the heart forward and chest to open. Taking slow, deep, rich breaths here and aiming to be as still as you can, though if it feels safe to bow your head, you might explore just a little gentle movement in the neck, just carefully and mindfully. Lingering here for a few more breaths. If you'd like to stay a bit longer, you could pause the video now until you're ready for the next shape. No rush in the world. Take a deep breath when you're ready to come out and gently begin to re-support yourself, pressing down into the arms. You want to grab that blanket roll to put where your arms just were, draping your wrists over the blanket roll and sinking back into child's pose. So you could have extra cushion under your knees or behind your knees. And let yourself rest down. You might need extra cushion under your head, or you might be able to bring your forehead to the ground. Let letting your arms drape over the blanket right at the wrists. So get particular about making yourself as comfortable as you can to stay in this shape. And breathing into and back out through your nose. And another option for this is to roll the blanket farther towards you to rest your upper arms and forehead on the blanket roll. You might find that this is more supportive or easier to relax into. Find a variation of that child's pose shape that's comfortable to stay in and linger there for maybe a dozen more breaths here. Know that in the child's pose shape, you might like to take knees wide but have toes pointed in. Big toes might come to touch. It might feel better to separate your feet hips distance, to take the knees wider or narrower. All of those variants are up to you. Soften here as best you can and take a few more slow, deep, rich breaths into and back out through your nose. Make any adjustments that you need to feel quite comfortable being still here for the next few rounds of breath. Again, the invitation is to linger in this shape for as long as you may need, and only to slowly begin to re-support yourself to come out when you're ready. And when you are rolling the blanket off to the side, come back onto your belly once more. And you can do this one leg at a time or both legs together. We're going to take a simple quad stretch. So bend one knee, and you could use a sock or a strap, or if you're able to grab your pants, you can if your foot's not accessible to you. If it feels safe to come back into that half sphinx with one arm, in order to make it more accessible to reach your foot, you're welcome to do this. But be careful about bending so much into the low back. If you're able to grab one foot, just relaxing into this as best you can. Of course you can, if it's accessible to you, you can simply reach back for both feet, rest your chin or forehead on the ground. And we're not aiming to force anything here. We're not trying to force a huge stretch. We actually want to be quite far away from our furthest capacity to stretch. We want to be able to soften the body here and relax into staying in this shape. Again, if it feels like too much in your low back, try pressing the front of your hip bones and tops of your thighs down into the ground. By engaging the core, we take the compression out of the low back and put the stretch back into the quadriceps. And by not forcing ourselves terribly deep into the stretch, we're also creating our ability to stay here longer. So If you're doing one leg at a time, you might like to switch that now. Softening here. Notice if anywhere starts to clench or activate, if you might be able to readjust to support and bring softness there instead. You could also use this as a way to gently stretch the shoulders, the arms, the biceps, and the pecs. Softening where you can, avoiding any force or strain. Again, you could stay in this shape as long as it serves you. Slowly release whenever you're ready to come into our next shape, which is puppy pose. You might like to use that blanket or towel for some extra cushion beneath your knees. Knees will be about hips distance. Feet could be pointed or flexed. You want to keep your hips above or slightly behind your knees, not in front of them. Come to the forearms and walk your hands out, letting your heart melt towards the ground and resting forehead down. You don't want to feel really any weight-bearing pressure or tension in the upper body, so if you're experiencing that, simply slide back kind of inch by inch until you just feel that stretch and traction to the spine, with the hips gently drawing backwards. Some other variations here might be to bring the elbows closer together, palms together into prayer, hands at the back of your head. Lingering here, though, if this puppy pose doesn't feel right for you, you could take that child's pose again and still do prayer hands to the back of the head or arms extended out. Having patience and compassion for yourself in this practice today. Allowing breath to stretch the rib cage and in between individual ribs, breath stretching the intercostal muscles. Lingering here as long as you like, as long as this shape serves you, and slowly coming back upright only when you're ready. You might keep that blanket or towel handy as a pillow as we come into our second to last shape, is a wonderful pec stretch. So you're going to extend one arm straight out to the side. Take care that it's aligned straight out from your shoulder. And you could have the arm out straight, or you could bend it at 90 degrees, bending at the elbow. So there's no right or wrong there. It just might feel different each person and even each day what feels best, works best for you. So extending that arm out, stretch the palms, stretch the fingers, turn your head away from that arm. If you need a little extra cushion, if your chest is feeling squished, you could use a blanket under your ribs or under your head. And this might be plenty of a stretch for you here. Remembering that we don't want to go to the farthest ends of our stretch in Yin Yoga. We want to stay someplace that's more sustainable, targeting the connective tissues rather than the musculature. If you do feel able to go a bit farther, you might try to slowly turn your chest away from the extended arm, rolling onto that side of your body. You could use the other hand as support here. Keep stretching the palm wide and keep the front of the shoulder grounded if you can. Remembering that we're trying to keep the stretch in our pectoral muscles in our chest and shoulder and not into the spine. So that if you do happen to be able to continue to roll to deepen this, take care that you don't end up forcing the stretch into a twist in your spine. If you're able to roll a bit farther, you might bend to that top leg, planting the foot, knee can turn up. The legs can be straight or bent, stacked or staggered in whatever way serves you best. And of course, you might be just lying flat with only the head turned to the side. Whatever feels safest and most sustainable to you. Reconnect to your breath here. Knowing again you can stay in this stretch as long as it serves you. You might feel called to go a little deeper into the stretch, or you might feel called to back off a bit to stay. Only when you're ready, slowly come out of that pec stretch and pause for just a moment between sides. You might extend the opposite arm out and turn your head and just linger there for a moment. Listening to your body, to your intuition. Remember that arm can be straight or bent at the elbow, but take care that it's extended directly out from the shoulder. And again, you could stay resting flat or begin to slowly turn away from the extended arm. And knowing that it's not always best to go as far as you can. We can be quite a bit more productive by showing some compassion and restraint in this Yin Yoga practice. Same thing on this second side. You can support your head as much or as little as you need. Use the opposite hand for support. Legs can be straight, bent, staggered, or stacked, and some of you may be able to plant that foot of the leg that's on top and turn the knee to the sky. The arm that's being stretched, the pec, separate the fingers, stretch the palm, soften that hand. Breathe mindfully into and back out through your nose so that you'll notice if you've gone too far, if your breathing becomes restricted, you can make adjustments big or small, knowing that the breath is really the most vital component of all. Lengthening the spine, aiming to keep your head in alignment with the spine and the hips, rather than kind of curling the upper body or the head in. Keep lengthening hips to head. Soften where you can. Keep noticing if that tension begins to creep back in. Breathe softness into those spaces instead. Give thanks for this body, this practice, this breath. Lingering here with your breath on this second side for as long as it serves you. And only when you're ready, slowly unwind. From here, we'll make our way over onto our back for the last shape, Banana Asana, or crescent moon. So extend yourself all the way out long, arms overhead out long, legs extend out long, and I'll talk you through this last one. You'll step your feet one step to the right, and your hands and head will go one step to the right as well. So both hips and both shoulders are equally on the ground. The feet and the hands might be a bit far apart, and that's okay. It might feel best that way for you. Or you might be able to, you might like to stack one hand on the other, or clasp one wrist, or cross at the ankles. So just one small step to the right with the arms and legs. Not too far. All four limbs are equally grounded. Breathing length up and down that left side of your body. Letting your head rest heavy with both eyes turned equally towards the sky, though you can let your right ear come slightly towards your right shoulder. And again, it might feel best to have the arms and legs far apart, or if you did grab a wrist or stack the ankles, you might like to switch that now. Keeping the limbs to the right. We're just in this banana or crescent moon shape, so we're not trying to make a half circle. We're just making this beautiful slight arch to breathe length up and down the left side of our body. Between the intercostal muscles, the ribs again. Between the ribs, breathing, stretch. To the connective tissues. Feel the sense of interconnectedness from the left foot to the left hand. Know that you can stay here as long as you like. This crescent moon shape, more so than any of the others, is someplace quite safe and luxurious to linger in. And this is the last shape of this practice. Hopefully you can take a Shavasana for yourself just to rest and do nothing but breathe and be after both sides. But know that you can stay on this first side for as long as it serves you. Only when you're ready, come back through center, pause there for a breath, and then gently switch sides, taking the feet one step to the left, the arms and hands just one step to the left, just a little bit, going for more length than curve. Letting both shoulders and hips rest equal, both arms and legs to rest equally. Maybe letting the left ear come towards the left shoulder. Maybe the feet and hands stay apart, or you might like to clasp a wrist or cross at the ankles. Breathing into and back out through your nose as long as that's comfortable for you. Softening the space between your toes, the space between your fingers. And compassionately leaning into the stretch on this second side now, as we ask our left side body to gently contract as we breathe length to the right side body. So the length and relief and openness that you experienced by the end of the first side, it will feel quite different as you begin the second side. Having patience in this yin yoga practice, patience with yourself and your body, finding that relief of that release of stress and tension through this compassion, through this act of patience. If you've stacked the hands or clasped a wrist or crossed the ankles, you might like to switch that now, or you might not be ready yet. Taking as much time on this second side, perhaps as you did on the first side. Taking all the time you need. Allowing yourself as many breaths here as you need. Perhaps you'll stay in this banana asana or crescent moon shape a while longer, or perhaps you'll come out and make your way into Shavasana now for a few minutes or 10 minutes. You're worthy of this practice, of this essential rest, of this peace and relief. Much love.